This episode is brought to you by Cane's Donuts, celebrating 65 years as the best donuts in Boston. Follow Cane's on Instagram at Cane's_donuts to see why donuts are love.
I remember saying to him, we already put our kids through cocaine, I can't do this to them. And he blasted me. He punched me right in the face.
In this episode, I'm sitting down with Kathy Cremin. Kathy's youngest daughter, Deanna, was murdered March 29th, 1995. Her body was found a block from their Jacques St apartment in Somerville. This one was close for me. I remember being at their house as a kid for barbecues. Deanna's stepfather, Michael, was one of my dad's closest friends. I remember sitting in their kitchen at the house on Jacques St or catching my mom smoking a joint in their front steps. When I first asked Kathy to do this interview, she said no, but a few weeks later, she replied again. If I can help save another girl from an abusive relationship, from drugs or violence, it's worth it. I want to thank Kathy for sharing her incredible story. This is the Old Dirty Boston Podcast. So, if you could just introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Kathy Cremin. I'm from Somerville originally.
Why don't you tell us about your mom and dad?
My mom was born with cerebral palsy. Beautiful woman. We had very limited use of her left side. She was a homemaker. She didn't work. My dad was what they call a food and beverage controller for the Sheraton hotel chain. He had one eye. He lost his eye when he was 10 years old. He's a very strict dad. Three-piece suit guy all the time.
Would you say that your mom and dad got along?
Horribly.
What was the conflict?
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad was a real mean drunk. He was very strict about manners. You know, teenagers run amok. And we were rebellious, and he loved us to be grammatically correct in things. You know, when we spoke, we couldn't say, if he asked what you're doing, we couldn't say nothing. We had to say, I'm not doing anything, or I'm doing exactly this. You know, I know he meant well, but his drinking just got in the way of us respecting his demands.
So, in one way, he was like prim and proper and really tight.
Right.
But then you'd see him get drunk and he would act crazy.
He was evil.
Yeah.
He was evil. Yeah. I mean, he didn't hit, but his mouth, you know, he's vicious.
Did your mom drink?
Never.
Okay. And was it usually targeted at you and your sisters, or was it more at your mom?
Mostly at my mom. But he had 4 girls. I had 2 older sisters that are identical twins, and one younger.
That would drive any man crazy, Kathy.
Poor guy.
It wasn't his
Poor
fault. Yeah.
I know.
And what kind of stuff would he say to your mom?
Well, he made fun of her because of her cerebral palsy. You know, we call her a crippled bitch. Often, the cops taking my dad out, and I guess he'd go sober up and come back. Like, he always came back.
Yeah. Okay, so mom and dad are fighting a lot. Does that make you, like, nervous around other people? Are you afraid of men? Are you...
I think that would have made me, what happened to me, you know, because I can reflect. I'm 61 now, and I went through 2 very violent relationships, domestic violence, and it was physical. I think that, you know, the expression, children learn what they live, not what you say.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely true. Because I seemed to follow suit on that abuse was okay.
Yeah.
You know, it was acceptable. And, you know, my dad went blind when I was how old was I? I was 19. My dad got into an altercation with a Wells Fargo guy. God hit him in his good eye, and he went blind.
So he had a bad eye.
Yeah, he had no eye. He had a glass eye. And
he had a glass eye, then he got in a fight with a Wells Fargo guard.
Yep.
And lost the other eye.
Lost the other eye. So he went blind, and in 1986... he got $1.6 million. He won the lawsuit he pressed against the Wells Fargo.
Wow.
Yeah.
So something happened to you when you were about 16.
Mm-hmm. Life-changing event. I got hit by a car.
Yeah.
Yep. Hit and run, stolen car.
So you were crossing McGrath Highway?
Broadway and McGrath. I was crossing in front of Frost Park.
Okay, so you were coming from where the Dunkin' Donuts is now. Yep. Over towards where the park is.
I stepped off the island.
Okay.
Yeah. Right in front of that big yellow sign that used to be there, slow, 15 miles per hour with children, because it was in front of a playground.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got hit. It was raining. My boyfriend at the time was walking me home. And I'm going to just throw this in. I was very conscious of making something of myself. I was in high school, and I knew I wanted to become a teacher. And I was severing the ties with the friends I were hanging around with because it was too rough. It was too reckless behavior. I had broken up with my boyfriend because he was on drugs, and he was walking me home. You know, to this day, my father believed that he pushed me.
Oh, so you think the boyfriend...
I think he pushed me, too. He didn't visit me for 3 months while I was in the hospital, and he said he was afraid of my father. No, he wasn't. Yeah. You know, my father was small and wiry, and I talked to this guy, maybe 15 years ago about it. And he says to me, I got to tell you, I did something bad, right? And we were sitting in my apartment when I lived in Malden. And right when he said that, my son Marco walked through the door. And my son Marco told him to leave. But I think he was about to confess. I mean, there's a statute of limitations. There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, it's another unresolved issue in my life.
Yeah.
But I got messed up pretty bad. I got, 2 broken legs, broken hip, broken pelvis, fractured skull, tied up to all kinds of things in the hospital, traction, and tons of drugs.
Yeah.
Tons of drugs.
In the hospital,
In
they
the
were
hospital.
giving
And
you.
back then, they allowed you to smoke. I'd have coffee, brandy, fraps, and, a fistful of barbiturates. My friends would come up on Friday nights, we'd play cards and recreational drug use.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was almost condoned.
Yeah. Any idea who was driving that stolen car?
I've heard that it was one of the Ridings. I don't know. I think it's Robert. And his father used to be a CSO, community service officer at the Somerville projects. I found that out when, in 1998, this guy I was talking to, he goes, "Oh, that's easy." When he goes, "This guy did it to you." And then I've searched for him since. I haven't been able to locate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a stolen car. It must have been somebody from the neighborhood that...
Exactly. And it was a 1965 Dodge wagon. And I was in a coma for a week. And I remember waking up and saying, what happened to me? What happened to me, when I went back to school, and I was in 12th grade now, I just felt so self-conscious. I felt like a fish out of water. I just didn't fit in. And I got pregnant in, let me see, Christine, I think I got pregnant in February of 1976, yeah. I quit school and went to work.
And what happened when you went home and told your parents you were pregnant?
My father said I had a problem. Threw everything in my room out, everything. Put it in back then they had incinerators in the projects. So, I went to school that day and talked to my teachers. I was doing great. And, they're all telling me to stay in school. And
so the scariest time in your life, you're pregnant, you don't know what to do, and he just kicked you out.
He kicked me to the curb. That's right.
Do you think in his mind he thought it was tough love, he was doing the right thing, or you think he was just evil?
I think he was just a bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm hanging around with a group of kids that basically have no goals. The goal for most of them was going to the military. I met Bert. That's how I met him when my girlfriend Karen and I had a broken jaw. My jaw was wired. And I was sitting on a curb down in East Somerville. And they asked us to go to a place called Father's Four in Cambridge. And we did. And then Bert and I became boyfriend and girlfriend. And my first date with him, he took me to the dog track.
Suffolk Downs?
Yeah, no, Wonderland.
Wonderland, yeah.
I think I won $18 or $6 or $18. Now I'm confused. But I know it was more than I walked in with.
Yeah.
And Bert lost his paycheck. It was so weird. His whole personality, he became, instead of charming and debonair, he became like, he was horrible. His whole facial expressions changed, his voice changed, and he said to me, "Don't ever fight with me about money." I was working at the time. I'd get paid, and, I'd go see Bert. The nicest guys in the world asked me out, and I stayed with this guy. As time went on, I have Christine, and then I have Deanna, and then I broke up with Bert because he gave me an STD.
Really?
Out of all the violence, of all the hits. The first time was December of 1976. It was on Christmas Eve. We were having an argument, and I forget about what. Didn't hit me, bit my nose. He wanted to hit me, but I had the baby, so it was Christine that protected me. Then that's when Bert became very violent in our first apartment. He beat me sometimes where you couldn't recognize my face.
So now you're in this abusive relationship. Now you have 2 daughters. Mm-hmm. What's going on for you? Are you trying to find a way out?
Yeah, I actually was going to school, got my GED.
Alcohol and drugs kind of always in the mix?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, always. Jason, really, right up until this day, I'm working on it. And
oh, I get it. I mean, I grew up in Somerville too, and
Yep.
people don't really hang out socially, especially when you're in your early 20s if there's not substances around. So you're living with Bert. It's a bad relationship. He's abusive. In your mind, are you just like, okay, I got to deal with this, or are you looking for a way out?
Looking for a way out. Restraining orders were a joke.
Yeah.
I went to the doctors one day and I found out I had an STD. And the little paragraph.
What was it? Do you remember?
Gonorrhea. And he came to the house and I showed him the pamphlet. Can only be contracted by sexual intercourse. And when I showed it to him, he laughed. And I made him leave, and that did it. That sealed the deal. Not the punches, not the broken furniture.
The cheating.
The cheating. Yeah, so anyway, that happened.
So where'd you go with the girls?
I went to I got an apartment in the projects. They had seen me beaten so bad, so I got a priority. You know, now I get the 2 girls and 95 cents for a cab to Star Market and back, and we could make it. And, the kids played in Foss Park. It was fun. It was fun. And then I met Mike.
So enter Michael Cremin.
Enter Michael Cremin. So I made a nice dinner, steak, potatoes, and I don't know what else. What am I, 21 at this time? We have a nice dinner. We're all sitting talking, and they sent me and Lorraine to the store to get some cards and some more beer. And we did it, and when I came back, my dishes were done. Michael Cremin washed my dishes, and Kathy fell in love. That's true. It is. So silly. And, seen him for a few times. We were dating. We went out with, took me and my girls with John Lee, Dave Donahue. I can't remember who else. Took us to Brigham's in Medford for ice cream. And, I just felt so protected. I was with older fellas, and, they knew how to take care of kids. Michael was the one that helped me get my daughters in daycare because his mother ran the daycare. It was all nice. And he evidently got into a gambling debt, the Hill.
When you say the Hill, that means the Winter Hill Gang.
Yes.
They used to run all the bookmaking.
Yeah. Well, Michael was $35,000 in debt, and evidently something came out that he was either going to get his legs broke. This is true.
Yeah.
Legs broke or killed. So he left town. He wrote to me. He sent me or called me. He just up and left one day. And he left me a bottle of Jack Daniels, a Tupperware box with $50 in it, a half a gram of Coke, and some pot. And then I got a letter from him and a phone call. And he said he was in Philadelphia. And he had a painting job with Dave Donahue. You know Dave, right?
I know Dave.
Okay.
Bad news.
Yeah, big time. So
Dave Donahue, do you know about Dave Donahue burning the car?
I believe I do. Tell me, because Dave Donahue was Mr. Scam.
He had a 63 Austin Haley, and he's so stupid. I went to buy it because I loved convertible. I still have convertibles. He took the car and he burnt it. He burnt an Austin Haley, a 63 Austin Haley.
To try and get insurance money.
Oh, yeah, he was going to get the insurance, but unfortunately, he didn't have any fire and theft insurance, and he lost the car and the money, and, too bad for him.
All right, so anyways, here we go. Michael goes to California. He goes to Alita, California. Michael wrote me the most romantic letters. He said that one of the things I'll never forget is I was sitting at the kitchen table, and I looked across, and zap, I fell in love with the most beautiful pair of green eyes I ever saw. I mean, you're talking, how can you not fall in love with this creative writer? And I did. Michael's sending me tickets to go to California, and lo and behold, he did. Send me tickets for me and my girls, and we got on a TWA plane, straight flight to California. We get there. It was okay, but there was something awkward. I think immediately he made a mistake, and he knew it. And anyway,
He made a mistake that you went
bringing
out
me
there?
out there.
Really?
Yeah. Michael, me, and the kids, drive from the valley to the coast and walk into 2001 Pacific Coast Highway. Gary went to Joe Lutoff and Bobby Sullivan. Gary gave up his room for us, and he went on the couch.
And they were all Somerville guys?
All Somerville. Yeah, little Somerville, California. It's one of my best adventures in my whole life is being in California and making the friends I made. So what happens is the company that Michael's working for, Store Cable, everyone in there came to our wedding, and gave us gifts. Well, Michael and Ray broke into it and stole all their equipment. We were out of town. Out of town we went. Across the country, there's a few of us, like a convoy. So they had an apartment ready for us on Lynn Street in Chelsea.
So you're back in Chelsea.
Yeah, and now, all right, Albert's
been born.
Yep.
What's Mike doing for work?
Bartending down 10 Hills and cocaine.
Yeah, the Cocaine Cowboys.
Yeah, holy
So
crap.
10 Hills Cafe.
Yep.
There's actually, I did a podcast with, I think I told you about him, a guy named Dana Owens.
Okay.
And he was a MDC police officer. The 10 Hills guys used to go out and rob places. And one time they robbed a mail truck here in Somerville. He was in pursuit of them. They ended up shooting into the cop car.
Wow.
And almost killed him. They put him in a coma.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, 10 Hills was a wild place. 10 Hills Cafe was...
10 Hills was dangerous.
Yeah.
But Michael's working there, and Michael's never coming home. He never comes home. So...
Is he making decent money with the coke?
Evidently. All right, Michael hit me for the first time when I lived in Chelsea. And how he hit me was after Albert was born, he punched me in the stomach. He knocked the wind out of me. I went down, and he punched me in the head. He fractured my skull with his fist. He told me no one will ever see the marks, and if I tell anybody, he'll kill me. And when I told his father said to me, you married him. I have nobody. My dad's blind. My mother's got cerebral palsy. My brother is not in the picture. My other brother is dead. I have no one. Everybody was afraid of Michael.
He was the craziest.
He was deadly. But anyway, and then he was so nice, Jason. You know, you want to do bipolar split personality. Michael Cremin was the epitome of those definitions.
Well, that's part of it. And one of the reasons originally that you agreed to kind of sit and talk to me about this stuff is that there are kids out there now. There's a girl, you know, she's 19, 20. She's got a boyfriend. He's the sweetest, most unbelievable, intelligent, everything guy.
His intelligence, Michael was at the top.
But then they have this shadow side, this dark side. And the thing is that it will not get better.
He killed my cats, Jason. The guy was a homicidal maniac. You know, it's my belief that he also killed a human. The reason why I'm alive is because I got lucky.
Well, he told you that he killed somebody? Well,
Yeah.
without saying any names around it, what was the story?
That he went to, there was a cop he got in trouble with in New Jersey, and that he broke into his house while the cop was sleeping and shot him in the head. We stayed in Chelsea. Cocaine came into the picture.
Were you using at that time?
I started using, yeah.
So he was living the fast life. He was tending bar at 10 Hills, which meant he was selling the coke too.
Exactly. You know, I remember one time
And he had guns, right? Did he have guns around the
he had
house?
a lot of guns.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. The gun that shot the police officer, Dana, came from Michael.
Okay, I believe that easy.
And it was a small shotgun. And at the time, my mom was living with Michael. She dated him.
Yeah.
So when the investigators showed up, because they traced the gun back to Michael,
Yeah.
they said, "Where's the gun?" What, she was the one that opened the door.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
And she told me, she said, that's when I knew it was time to go. So
Good for her, because
Yeah.
he had already had his eye on ripping her apart.
yeah.
Well,
So
as
the violence kind of, you could imagine a guy that already has a proclivity to be violent, that is abusive. Now you mix in coke and too much booze. It's got to just, does it ramp up? Does it go
and
from
I'm
0 to
taking
10?
away
Does it?
I'm taking away from him the persona he's trying to achieve, which is like a kingpin. But he always wanted to control me no matter what I did. This is when we lived on Jacques St. This is when I started to get my independence from him. I started to respect myself, appreciate my abilities. You know, I did something about it. I went to school. You know, I got a certificate. I went to work for the Red Cross. Constantly at my work, he was. But he made it very clear that I wasn't going anywhere. He sent me, it was my birthday, he sent me a cactus plant, all right? And the card had a picture of the Grim Reaper on the front, and it said, you can run, but you cannot hide.
So you guys were kind of split.
We were split.
Okay.
There was a lot of violence. And Shirley Ave, Michael suffocated me into unconsciousness, and he thought he murdered me. He thought he killed me. I have no idea how long I was out for, but I remember calling the bar, and Cliffy answered. And Cliffy told me later that Michael told me that I was dead. He said, you know what happened when you called the bar, Kathy? Because everybody was in shock. We all thought you were dead. The plans were how to get rid of the body. But did I leave him, Jason? Nope. I believed in my marriage vows. I truly believe, for better or worse. And, sadly, I was like that.
And he used it against you.
Did he. And, he left me then. And he left me on Franklin Avenue, moved in with another woman. They were an enterprise, a cocaine enterprise. And, they were all like Michael's entourage. Michael was the kingpin. They did what Michael said. Michael had...
Was that the bubblegum coke?
That was the bubblegum coke. And that was the primo cocaine. And not everybody had it. If I wanted to say I enjoyed that lifestyle, you look at the children and how much they were deprived of. And, so I don't really get a lot of fun out of it. But I look back, like anything, drug abuse progresses, drug addiction progresses. You end up having a roommate that's a diabetic and has needles. It all just got ugly. And it became all about the drug and not the money and not the... It did. Everybody and anybody, I don't care who they were, it became the coke. And the coke was ruining relationships, ruining families.
Yeah.
So there was no enterprise anymore. Michael left me, and I moved into the North Street projects.
And is that when you had the incident with Christine, when Michael busted in with the gun?
Yes. Long nose 357 pistol. Give me $100 or your oldest goes first.
And he pointed the gun at her?
Directly.
Did she remember it?
Yes. She never spoke about it, but shortly before she died, she said to me, Mom, why didn't you divorce him then?
Yeah.
But she loved him. She loved him. She called herself Daddy's little girl. It's weird, but I guess we take what we want and leave the rest, and it depends on what you're looking at. She loved her dad. Anyway, thing. Then when Michael came to the house, wanted the money, my niece Stacy climbed out the window and went and got the police. When the police came, Michael was gone. Nothing I could do. It was there on our street that Michael killed 3 of my cats, too. 2, he took out of the house and dropped off at Powderhouse Square, called me up and said, do you see the cats? The girls brought home, his name was Sweetie Baby, and it was weeks old. It was teeny and cute. And then he was laying on my couch. I walked out the door and I heard a thump. And I walked in, the cat was choking on the floor. And I went into hysterics. Cops came, he was gone.
Yeah.
And he took the kitten with him. That was the beginning of me dying. This guy was going to kill me next.
Yeah.
You know?
It was that bad. So the cocaine kind of scrambles everything. Everything gets out of control.
Then I go into business on my own.
Well, you needed money. You had no other way to make cash, right?
You know, that's what I did. And then, you know, we had all kinds of code because we were all that. You know. And you know what? We got away with it. I never got busted. But I almost got killed for not getting busted. You know?
Do you think the cops knew about it?
I think absolutely.
Yeah.
I think absolutely. But I think the cops were paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way they didn't, Jason.
And with everything you've been through, I mean, if you can go through the list of it, but from your brother to getting hit by the car to growing up in an abusive house, first abusive marriage, getting kicked out when you were pregnant, second abusive marriage with Michael, drugs, violence,
Death.
the death of your daughter, the death of your younger daughter first, and then the death of your older daughter, you know.
The death of Deanna is just, look, you don't think I'm not brokenhearted about Christine. Deanna's was murder.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fact that nobody's been named, and that eats at me so bad.
Yeah.
It eats at me so bad because you know and I know that there's a question.
And somebody out there knows.
Oh, yeah. And the more I stay focused, you know, I think I do believe I will get to the bottom of it, hopefully this year. I mean, reporters are already calling me, and I don't even want to talk to them because I have to be careful. They trip you up and embellish. And
So, do you want to get into the murder? To that? I know that's hard for you, and
I can do it.
yeah.
Yeah, come on. Go for it. You start.
Okay, so what was the year?
1995.
1995. Deanna went out, and how old was she at the time?
17, she had just turned it.
And she went out for the night. She was at her boyfriend's.
Yep.
And she's supposed to be home around what time?
10. This particular night because she watched her shows. Back then it was, I don't know, something like Melrose Place. I had seen Deanna earlier. She's going to Tommy's, do her homework. Mom, can I please stay out to 10? I talked to her at 9. I'm going to stay till 10, okay, because I want to watch my show. And I said, okay, I'll see you.
There were 3 prime suspects in the murder of Kathy's daughter, Deanna. Her boyfriend, Tommy, a Somerville firefighter she was rumored to have had a relationship with, and her stepfather, Kathy's husband, Michael Cremin.
I was aggravated with Mike that day, and I'm going to tell you this. This is the fucking truth. Deanna and I talked that day, and Deanna said to me that Dad wouldn't know if I was dead or alive. And because he was drinking. I come home from work, and I'm talking to Mike about it. And when I said that to Mike, Mike looks at me, and he goes, I wouldn't know if she was dead or alive, huh? That was it. Deanna didn't come home that night. I started calling. I woke up at 12 o'clock. I started calling Deanna, paging her. I had gotten her a pager for her birthday. I just assumed she fell asleep at Tommy's. I wasn't concerned. I wasn't worried because she was always there. I did call. And then the next morning when she didn't come home, again, I'm paging her. Obviously, I'm a wreck inside, but not trying. The guilt I carry over that, Jason, is insurmountable. And it will probably never go away.
Well, what do you feel guilty for?
For not putting more effort into it when she wasn't home at 12 o'clock, for not going out, for not going to Tommy's, you know. But I think I lived the way my parents lived, you know. And also the household environment was so volatile because we didn't get along. He was all about beer buddies. I go to work and everybody in the work, it must have already been on the news because everybody was looking at me. And I said, they go, what's the matter with you, Kathy? And I said, Deanna didn't come home last night. And evidently on the news, a body being found in Somerville. And Michael called me and he says, get home. And I said, why? And he said, I go, why? What happened? He goes, you know what happened. And he hung up. And I started hyperventilating, hysterical on the train. And, you know, it's weird, but a nun came in front of me, gave me some prayer. I guess it helped me. When I got off at Sullivan, I didn't want to wait for the bus. So I walked straight up Broadway. And I'm telling the state police, my name is Kathy Cremin. My name is Kathy Cremin. But nobody was talking to me. And when I got home, When I turn my street, I see Michael's sister's car out front. That's never good news. I get up the stairs, and she opens the door, and I said, Mary, don't tell me she's dead. Don't tell me she's dead. And I'm pushing her like that. And I said, don't you? And she said, Kathy, she's dead. And I threw myself on the couch. I'll never forget this. And my Christine said, Ma, stop. Everything broke out. It was insane. Jason, I couldn't find a comfort place. I felt like I was bad if I felt comfortable, and I just couldn't comprehend anything. And
were the police right on you with questions like?
What? Oh, my God. I think it was the next day, because our house just got inundated with people offering their support. And state homicide investigators, district attorney, they all sitting there asking us questions about Deanna's behavior, her routines, etc. Like nothing was off, except for that she didn't come home. Oh, I talked to Tommy that morning, too. And that's
Tommy was the boyfriend.
Tommy was the boyfriend. When I called him and he answered the phone at 8 o'clock, I had to be in work at 8, so it was prior to that.
Yeah.
This guy didn't wake up till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Jason. He answered the phone, and I said, tell Deanna to get her ass home. And he said, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? What do I mean? She didn't come home last night. And I said, I go, so tell her to get to school.
And that was before you went to work, or when did you call him?
I called him before I went to work.
Okay.
And he said he walked her halfway home. He goes, I walked her halfway home. Oh, you walked her halfway home, huh? That's nice.
So there were let's say there's 3 real possibilities of what happened. One is her boyfriend, Tommy, could have killed her. 2, it could have been a stranger. It could have been someone just walking by that attacked her, and it was a random act.
It could have been that Delgado guy, too, because his DNA came back inconclusive.
Right. And the third possibility you think could have been?
Michael.
And what makes you think that it could have been Michael?
Because of his behavior before she died. That thing, when he killed my cat.
Had he ever been violent with the girls? Had he ever hit them?
Never.
But you had the incident where he pulled the gun on Christine.
Yes, I forgot about that. That's right. But Michael, because I went to his house, his parents' house, and his sister, who I have the utmost respect for, was running around saying he did it. Because the look on my brother-in-law, Mark's face, the way he looked at me, they don't know. They believed he murdered Deanna.
They thought it could have been possible.
Absolutely.
And you saw the violence in him that you think it was possible.
Absolutely. But then again, because it's a murder, and because I absolutely know that somebody comes out of left field in these things, Tommy's skin is the only thing under her nails. So, and he did have scratches right here.
And you said that you felt like he didn't really help with the investigation.
He didn't help. He got a lawyer, and he pleaded the 5th at the grand jury investigation. So did his best friend. Tommy's father, come to find out, I always thought he was a lawyer. He's a truck driver. But his best friend, his alibi friend, his father is a lawyer. And he's worked for everybody in the city of Somerville. He does insurance scams. I mean, I've sat down with a retired homicide investigator in front of this guy, Jason. John Lassise 100% said Jason's lying to me. He's a seasoned investigator. But when I go to the
Tommy's lying to you.
Tommy's lying to me. No, Jason. We talked to Jason.
Who's Jason, the friend?
The alibi to Tommy. He was Tommy's best friend.
Okay.
Their friendship broke up after Deanna died because they told me Tommy was just awkward. Tommy would come up the house. He wouldn't talk. He was sweaty all the time. I mean, Tommy's behavior, Jason, if anybody's informed or is aware or has studied, Tommy acts like a murderer. He acts like a guilty murderer. But he's also kind of a sociopath.
And you said that Deanna was breaking up with him or planning to break up?
She definitely was breaking up with him. And she was also not running around. That effing fireman, Charlie Houghton, was teaching her how to drive. And Deanna would talk to me about the nice fireman. Michael knew him. Worked right across from the Baltimore Post.
Yeah.
Michael told me he saw them kissing. Michael was like 5 or 6. He was in the back seat of the Firebird. That's what this guy drove. And he saw Deanna kissing the fireman. And if Tommy found out about that, that's enough for jealous rage. This guy was drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he was a predator. So, because I went to school with him.
The fireman.
Yeah.
And he was investigated pretty heavily.
Very heavily. He was exonerated.
Do you think that he did not do it?
I think he could have, because he knows all about forensics. He's a fireman. Well,
if you look in your heart, is there one thing that really jumps out to you? I know that it's confusing and that's what's torturing you is the not knowing. But, if you sit there, does it change day to day? One day you think it's this, the other day you think it's that?
I'm back and forth between Tommy and Mike.
Yeah.
I found out so much more over the years, and I always find out more. It's amazing. But Tommy his uncle's a priest. everything that I think of the scenario about where her body was found, how hard she fought for her life. She fought so hard that she broke her hip. That tells me somebody was over her and she was trying to push them.
Yeah.
And Tommy, the pleading of the fifth, that was his girlfriend. You're in love at 17. Why would you plead the fifth? Give up anything you want. They said it was because of drugs. That's bullshit. There was only pot involved, and nobody was looking for it. And also, angel dust was around. So, yeah, and Deanna validated Tommy's everything. She was the prettiest girl. She was the smartest. She was the most fun. And he was an outcast. You know, he didn't fit in. He was phony as the day is long. Hi, Mrs. Cremin. You know, all this sweet, nicey stuff. And then I found out that he kicked his mother out of she had multiple sclerosis. He tipped her over in a rocking chair. He hit her. He was abusive to her. Not that seals it. The lack of cooperation, Jason, but the interference.
So after the murder, things just sink into a total depression.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was depression. I think it was frustration, real frustration. You want to talk about the violence getting worse after Deanna? It got way worse.
By Mike?
Yeah, got way worse.
So give me an example. Was he just like a
If
really
I didn't
trigger
do what he wanted, and I'm talking about drugs. All right, first off, he found out about the checks. Me and Deanna were stashing. I was getting child support payments from Bert, and Deanna's job was to get the pink checks, we call them. And we were stashing money, saving money so that I could leave him because he was just not present anymore, Michael. You know, when I started working.
He was doing heroin then?
You know, now I do believe that was true. That's what it was. I didn't understand and I didn't see it, but then.
Do you think that started after her death or before?
Definitely it started before.
Okay.
Yep, it started before. And that's, I think, what led to all the animosity between us. You know, it's my observation that when people are craving the dope, they get angry and they get mad and they get mean. Michael was the epitome of that definition.
Do you remember him giving it to you?
Oh, yeah.
The first time?
He came out because I wouldn't stop crying. I did cry for a year. I really did.
After Deanna's murder, Kathy's life fell into despair. Her husband, Michael, was using heroin. Here, Kathy describes the first time that he gave it to her and the effects it had.
He came home and he said, do this. And I said, what is it? He goes, never mind, just do it. And it was a teeny little line of powder. And I remember saying to him, we already put our kids through cocaine. I can't do this to them. And he blasted me. He punched me right in the face. And I did it. 2 seconds later, I was like, it's okay. It's okay. You know, cleaning the house, being all fine. I can handle this. And it went on for a few months on weekends.
Because it took all the weight off.
Oh, my God. It made me feel like $1 million.
With Michael's reputation, I was always surprised that if he really believed Deanna's boyfriend Tommy was responsible, why didn't he kill him himself? Here, Kathy talks about his plan to actually do that. With Michael's reputation, being that crazy, being that violent, I asked my dad once, I said, if Michael thought it was the boyfriend, why didn't he try to kill him? And you're saying that he was planning to kill him.
Yeah, and I'm the one that stopped it.
So no names, but if you go through like what was happening.
Here's what happened. We were told to move. Our house got foreclosed on. And Michael got some money because the house was under his name. I'm not sure how much money he got. I don't know if it was, I think it was $12,000. We had the cordless phones. Michael was on the kitchen phone. The cordless phone was on the bed. And I was in my bedroom with Michael. I picked up the phone, and I'm over here, and Michael and Jimmy talked that they're getting the 9mm clocks. The next night at Dunkin' Donuts, they were going to go kill Tommy. I heard the freaking conversation. I don't remember saying anything to Mike about it. The way I look at it, I'm right now an accessory if I don't turn him in, right? And also, what if it wasn't him? But then I look at this, Jason. Maybe Michael wanted to kill Tommy because that would get rid of a suspect and he could get away with it.
It's that scrambled. Who knows?
It is that scrambled. You know, he got lucky. He didn't go away, you know, and he was on drugs. He was on serious heroin.
Well, and you had to get off drugs too.
I was off drugs at that time, and, you know, now he's bringing home heroin, and I'm scared I'm not going to ever, and I never have, thought I could outsmart heroin. And, you know, I remember talking to this guy about it. I went into a program, and, you know, I learned so much. I was in there for 9 months. You know, about human behavior, about what stems into your adult behavior from your childhood and stuff. You know, people think it's a myth. You got to address it. If you don't address it, it's never going to get well. I got scared. I just wanted changes. And, you know, Christine was graduating. She was, you know, she's involved. She's in love. And, you know, she needed way more attention than she was getting at home.
Well, and so you're older daughter, Christine, do you know when she started using drugs?
She was in love with this guy she met in work, and he was married, and they were together for like a couple of years. 2007, 2008, he broke her heart, and what happened was someone gave her $20,000 worth of 30 milligram Oxycontins to sell so that she could make some money and make some money for them. And she became addicted. She was giving them to Mark, so Mark could sell them work. He became addicted. Those went away, and heroin became the drug of choice. She met a new guy. He was on heroin. Birds of a feather flock together. Water seeks its own level. It's all there. Christine went into a program prior to her death, very prior, like days. She was in there for 2 weeks, withdrew from heroin. She met somebody in that program with a different batch, and her batch that she died from, she shot up alone. Her boyfriend was on the way over with bringing her son back home. She was found dead. And we stayed at that hospital for a long time. And it went on for a long time. They gave it their best. And you know what? I got numb from that. That Christine's death kind of made me numb, because I think our bodies have this natural, I'm not going to let it crush me. You know, I miss her dearly. I sometimes think she's with me. I think that sometimes she's a brat, you know, and I'm okay with these, what I believe are spiritual connections. I don't push them. I don't often talk about them. I accept them, and it is what it is. And do I love and miss them? Absolutely. Do I own accountability? 100%. You know, had things been different, my children would have chosen different routes.
And anyone out there that can help, how could somebody get in touch? Obviously, you can send, I always tell people, if you ever want to get in touch with me on the Instagram, Old Dirty Boston, just send me a message, a private message. You can send it anonymously, you can send it however you want, but that's one way to reach out, one way to say things. And people, you'd be amazed at some of the things people call them with. So
life is a gift. And for, you know, I've got less years on left than I've had, so, and I feel like at this time, it's my job. I'm the one left here to fight for justice for my daughter, Deanna. And over the years, I feel like I'm back on the right track once again to wholly be responsible. And, you know, before I leave this earth, I want to get answers, and I want to help other people, and especially women, to not go through what I went through.
this year marks the 25th anniversary of Deanna Cremin's death. Her murder remains unsolved. If you or anyone you know has any information, please contact us. You're listening to the Old Dirty Boston podcast.